No, I don't have a picture. I don't have a picture. Yep.
Mic check, mic check. Steve.
No,
You good? You got audio?
I'm getting them.
One minute. Everybody's mics on, final mic check. Good, good, sounds good.
Good afternoon. I'm Santa Clara County Sheriff Lori Smith, and I'll be providing a statement updating the public about recent developments in the investigation of the death of 31-year-old Michael James Tyree. Mr. Tyree was in custody at Santa Clara County Main Jail for misdemeanor theft and drug possession. I know that you'll understand, due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, that I'll be unable to provide additional information beyond what is contained in this statement. As for additional information that's deemed releasable, as it comes up, I'll be able to provide you with that information. Before I go much further, I want to express my profound sorrow over the loss of Mr. Tyree and remind everyone that Mr. Tyree was someone's son, someone's brother, and that his life had value. And that this vile and cowardly act took Mr. Tyree's life is not indicative of values that we expect and honor with the men and women of this department, and that wear this uniform so proudly, those that are sworn to protect and serve. And we protect and serve the entire public, including those incarcerated and anyone for any reason. Earlier today, I had an opportunity to speak with two of Mr. Tyree's sisters. I was able to express my sincere apologies for the death of their brother at the hands of 3 of our deputies. To express our deepest sympathies for their loss and to offer resources of our office for whatever they need, whenever they need it. As sheriff, it's my sworn duty and the sworn duty of every deputy to follow every lead, no matter where that lead takes the investigation, to bring those that we believe are guilty to justice. It is what the Sheriff's Office did in this case. The disappointment and disgust that I feel cannot be overstated, because our investigation has concluded that 3 correctional deputies, Jerry Lubin, Matthew Ferris, and Rafael Rodriguez, are the reason for this brutal murder of Michael Tyree. Lubin, Ferris, and Rodriguez were placed under surveillance by our deputies. Ferris and Rodriguez were arrested this morning around 5:30 a.m. Mr. Lubin self-surrendered with his attorney at 7:30. The suspects were searched, handcuffed, read their rights, and provided an opportunity to give a statement to our detectives. Mr. Lubin, Mr. Ferris, and Mr. Rodriguez each declined to provide a statement. Each invoked their Fifth Amendment their Fifth Amendment constitutional right against self-incrimination, and each has asked for their lawyer. After refusing to give a statement, each accused murderer was booked, fingerprinted, and photographed at the Santa Clara County Main Jail, the very same jail where they're accused of taking the life of an inmate they swore to protect. Each of the accused was then placed in protective custody for their protection and have been transferred to a jail outside of Santa Clara County. The charges against each subject are murder, assault under the color of authority, and conspiracy. The accused were provided with no special treatment, and the process, procedures, and protocols were followed just like they are in any other arrest of an accused felon. I'm unable to disclose all of the evidence that points to the culpability of these three individuals, but it's unmistakable that Jerry Lubin, Matthew Ferris, and Rafael Rodriguez committed this cowardly and heinous act against an unarmed individual they were entrusted to protect. From the outset of the investigation into Mr. Tyree's death, the Sheriff's Office has conducted a thorough and professional investigation. We've utilized all of our assets to track down every lead. As I previously stated, the investigation is continuing. I made the decision after thoughtful consideration and consultation with our investigative team, command staff, that the three accused must be taken off the streets as soon as possible, and that has occurred. The following are details regarding the incident and our investigation that we can share with you so far. Mr. Tyree was in custody for misdemeanor drug possession and theft. He was housed on the 6th floor of the main jail in the 6B wing. This wing is typically reserved for inmates who are in protective custody or those with special needs. On the evening of Wednesday, August 26th, correctional deputies Lubin and Ferris began a routine clothing search for inmate cells in the 6B wing. Approximately 10 minutes later, Deputy Rodriguez joined Lubin and Ferris in searching inmate cells. At this point in time, all inmates are securely locked in their cells, and the three suspects are the only staff in the 3B wing, and Mr. Tyree was housed in a single-person cell. Approximately 20 minutes later, all three suspects exited the 6B wing. No other individual entered the 6B wing. About an hour later, on Thursday, October 27th, Correctional Deputy Lubin re-enters 6B to conduct a routine welfare check of inmates. A few minutes after entering the 6B wing, Lubin issues a man down call over his radio. According to Lubin's own incident report, he discovered Tyree's body on the floor of his cell. Mr. Tyree was naked and covered in feces and vomit. At this point, Rafael Rodriguez enters 6B and allegedly assists Lubin in dragging Mr. Tyree's body out of the cell, and CPR is administered in an unsuccessful attempt to revive Mr. Tyree. Shortly after, Lubin and Rodriguez are joined by numerous jail staff, including nurses, other correctional deputies who continue to perform CPR and utilize the AED device, attempting to again resuscitate Mr. Tyree. San Jose Fire and County Ambulance personnel arrive on the scene approximately 11 minutes from the first man-down radio transmission. They further attempt to resuscitate Mr. Tyree. They're unsuccessful, and Mr. Tyree is declared dead on the scene by EMS personnel at about 15 minutes later. After Mr. Tyree was declared dead, normal procedures for in-custody deaths were followed, which includes on-site staff contacting the Jail Crimes Detective Unit, Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit, our CSI unit, the District Attorney's Homicide on-call unit. The scene was secured, and the normal investigative protocol, in-custody death protocol, began. At this point, the body was preserved at the scene until medical examiner arrives, and evidence at the scene is preserved for the crime scene detectives. Medical examiner Dr. O'Hara arrived at the scene and was able to view Mr. Tyree and make observations from the scene. The medical examiner then took custody of Mr. Tyree, and sheriff's investigators continued a thorough investigation of the incident. Later that same Thursday, August 27th, after viewing video evidence, interviews, examination of other evidence, investigators began to believe that the circumstances surrounding Mr. Tyree's death were suspicious and that he may not have died from natural causes. Rather, they believe he may have died as a result of foul play and that correctional deputies Lubin, Ferris, and Rodriguez may be involved. Those deputies were the only people, including staff and inmates, who last had contact with Mr. Tyree prior to the man-down radio transmission. At this point, my command staff and I decided to place correctional deputies on administrative leave and remove them from the main jail facility as soon as possible. The correctional deputies had begun working their scheduled shift the same day, the day after Mr. Tyree's death. When they were removed from the building, they were stripped of their badges, their equipment, their peace officer status, and denied access to all sheriff's office facilities. The correctional deputies now are currently on unpaid administrative leave as a result of their arrests. The next day, on the afternoon of Friday, August 28th, Dr. O'Hara from the medical examiner's office provided a preliminary update on the autopsy to the sheriff's office. Upon receiving Dr. O'Hara's preliminary findings, the investigation of this case proceeded in this case as a homicide investigation. On Saturday, August 29th, the sheriff's office detectives executed search warrants at the homes of the 3 suspects in order to gather additional information. On the afternoon of Monday, August 31st, County Medical Examiner Dr. O'Hara updated the investigative team, including the sheriff's office and the district attorney's office, that Mr. Tyree's death appeared to be a result of internal bleeding due to blunt force trauma. At this point, I'd like to invite Dr. Joseph O'Hara, our chief medical examiner, coroner, up to provide you an overview. Again, I remind you that Dr. O'Hara will also not be answering any questions at this time. Dr. Joseph O'Hara.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Joseph O'Hara. I'm a forensic pathologist, and I've served at the Clara County Medical Examiner Coroner's Office for about 12 years. Our office is an independent county medical facility that functions under the principles of the medical examiner system. We're staffed by an experienced team of 3 pathologists, all trained in forensic pathology. We have approximately 25 years in manner of death. Additional duties include teaching it can be determined that the fatal
assistance and offering unfettered access to our facilities, to the inmates, to our staff, and for any purpose that the FBI may deem necessary. I felt it was important for the public to know how serious I am, along with my command staff and the county, to how seriously we take this incident. I also wanted another set of eyes and ears to come in and evaluate our custodial facility, the processes, the procedures, the protocols that we currently have in place. After this call to the FBI, but not as a result of this call, 2 FBI field agents visited the main jail My staff and I briefed the agents on the status of our investigation and provided the agents with access to our staff and inmates for interviews. Yesterday, after reviewing the status of our investigation, my staff and I believed we had sufficient probable cause to arrest correctional deputies Lubris, Ferris, and Rodriguez for murder of Mr. Tyree. An affidavit for a Ramey warrant was granted by Judge Helen Williams, which confirmed that probable cause existed for their arrest. Early this morning, those arrests were made. I'm compelled again to say it pains me and every member of the Sheriff's Office and every member of within our law enforcement community, because those who are sworn to protect and serve lose their moral compass and commit criminal acts. I must also say how proud I am of those who worked on this case and followed every lead that led to this morning's arrest. It's a very sad time for Mr. Tyree's family, and we mourn the loss of Mr. Tyree's loss. We will work as long as it takes and as hard as we must to examine our operations and to make the necessary changes to prevent this type of horrific incident from repeating itself. At this time, I would like to introduce Paula Canny. Ms. Canny is representing the decedent's family.
Thank you, Sheriff. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Paula Canny. I am an attorney. I've practiced law many years in this area. I'd like to invite my partner, Justin Goodwin, to come up. Justin Goodwin, me, and my other partner, Robert Canny, have worked on this matter. We represent Michael Tyree's family. What I want to get across to you right now, as Sheriff Smith attempted and actually forcefully got across to you, is that this is a tragic, sad, heartbreaking event. And that Michael Tyree, even though he was an inmate in a jail, is a person of value, that inmates are to be respected, that Michael was somebody's brother, somebody's son, somebody's cousin, somebody's nephew, that Michael had struggled many years with mental illness. And in reality, he was in custody as a result of criminal acts allegedly occurring that really were results of mental illness. So this gives, great pause and great opportunity for us to think about how we as a system treat mentally ill people, because there wasn't a mental health facility available for him. Michael is not originally from this area. His sisters are absolutely heartbroken at the loss. And they've always worried about Michael because of his mental illness. What the family, and really the poor families had such a difficult time of it. Michael's father died last year. His mother just died. So the family is experiencing a great deal of loss and sadness. So then we move to the next phase, which is the cause of death. And no relative, no friend, no anybody wants to hear that their loved one dies as the result of a murder. So it's doubly traumatic for them. And what I want to get across now is how grateful Michael Tyree's family is to Sheriff Smith. This could have been dragged out, but clearly the words of Dr. O'Hara make clear. Michael Tyree died at the result as the, Michael Tyree died as the result of blunt force trauma, sadly administered to him by those who were actually charged, duty-bound, who took an oath to protect him. And so I am so grateful, as is the family, for the recognition that when somebody does a wrong thing, a bad thing, even if they're a deputy, They're held to the same standard of conduct as you and I. And that's how this system should work. Equal justice for all and respect for all of us, whether we're an inmate or whether we're a citizen walking down the street. So the family is so grateful for the efforts to bring justice swiftly to those that caused Michael's death. I'm hopeful that the district attorney's office follows the lead of Sheriff Smith and all of the hard work of the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department in bringing those to justice that caused this terrible, horrific occurrence. None of us should be here. We shouldn't even be having to have this conversation. And so I'm so grateful, though, that Sheriff Smith and all of the people in the Santa Clara County Sheriff, as I said, I'm repeating myself, but that's what makes this extraordinary, is that it was done appropriately, methodically, based on evidence, and swiftly to hold those accountable who have perpetrated this just horrific act upon Michael, so that his family and really all his heirs are going to suffer the rest of their lives. It's absolutely tragic, and I can talk to any of you later, but I'm not taking any questions either. But again, I want to say thank you so much. It's absolutely tragic, and the family says thank you so much. I think that's it. Is that it? That's it.
And maybe you're not interested in speaking, okay.
Okay, no,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. I also want to take this moment to state that I know that there's been much concern in the community related to this incident. I've always valued our community partners, our commitment to ensuring that we maintain an open dialogue. We have a transparent organization, and we're always open to constructive criticism and any kind of feedback that we can get. We want to do a better job in the future. Conducting any high-profile murder investigation requires that we keep the investigation confidential to protect its integrity. Although I certainly understand the public's desire for information sooner, it was difficult to not provide the public updates, but we found it necessary, again, to protect the integrity of the investigation during this last week. I think it's a testament to the quality of our investigation and the diligence of our work that we're able to bring these 3 suspects into custody in a matter of about a week. As I stated at the beginning of the press conference, due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, I'll be unable to provide additional information beyond what's contained in this statement at this time. As more information comes forward, we will be able to. I wanted to make this a pretty complete statement, so hopefully it does answer your questions. And again, we won't be taking questions today, but we will continue to update you on the progress of the investigation. And I thank you for being here in this very tragic situation.
Sheriff, what kind of training did these officers receive? Were they prepared to handle mental illness patients? Can you tell us that?
You know, we're not going to take
I mean,
questions right now.
the community wants to know. Were these officers prepared?
We'll be talking with the community. Thank you.
Are you going to change procedure?